at the bottom, and the urine filters through the compost pile and goes through this hose into a liquid storage container. In this case, it is a 50-gallon barrel. But what happens? This liquid here does not smell at all. It's completely odorless.
Yeah.
And that is because, that is a benefit of this system. The EcoSun toilets, which are urine diverting toilets, separate the urine at the outset. And what that means is that the urine will accumulate and it will stink. Mm-hmm. It will really stink when people go to get it, and it's a nauseous smell. It's not, and so people don't want to handle it. So for our philosophy is that you want it to be the whole experience to be odor free. The less odor you have, the easier it is for people to feel okay with dealing with it. Even though urine is sterile. The odor, or people are still going to associate the odor with unsanitariness. So this is an important process, and that we need to, composting toilet people need to reintegrate into the technology. So I wanted to try to get a little bit here, but I don't want to fall.
You want me to hold you?
Here.
That's very, doesn't look like urine.
No, it doesn't look like urine. Probably getting a lot of
that water?
Rainwater too.
Maybe they have something you can,
Get it. Oh well.
Lost the sample.
I lost the sample. I actually brought a sample from my house, where I have my mom has a composting toilet, and I brought a sample, but it was confiscated at security.
That was your clean drug test.
And they're like, this can't go through, and I was like, okay. Hey, how's it going? Hey.
Need to disguise it as some kind of a medicinal thing or shampoo? Or?
I think they probably thought it was iced tea or something. I don't know. But anyway, so in this model, we built the structure around the IBC tank. In residential settings, you would probably put the tank in the basement, and then you could have a toilet kind of above, and you can have a pipe going down to the toilet. This is just a very simple, kind of crude example. We put this together in 2 days. But basically we just, cut a hole out here on the front, which is where the toilet is.
See? How many?
We put a slab of plywood on top. Now after every use, people should put in some kind of organic matter to keep them up. But you can put in sawdust.
Hello.
Like that.
Hi. Hey.
So in the back, you just have, this is sticking out of the outhouse. This outhouse was actually here before, and it was just a matter of pure luck that the IBC happened to be the exact dimensions of the inside of the outhouse. So we were actually able just to remove the boards, stick the IBC inside, and just add the platform in it. So it was a very easy process. So we add this as an inspection hash. This is also so people can get in and rake the pile. If it ever kind of builds up, you can kind of rake it back. And then perhaps the most important feature here is the fan. This is a regular duct fan. It costs about $70, but it's it's powerful. It sucks all of the air out of the tank, and then And then we have a regular PVC pipe. 4-inch PVC pipe is the chimney. And that's it. I mean, it's a very, very simple technology, but it's extremely effective. And it's completely odorless. And this could sit here for as long as 10, 20 years without removing anything. So that's, you know, another benefit is you don't have to carry buckets of poop around. There's very little. You don't have to handle the feces, which is really where the threat of disease is. All the pathogens are in the feces. We just let the feces break down using mesophilic composting. There's not. I mean, there will be some thermophilic composting, but we're not depending on it to kill it. Time will kill the pathogens just by sheer virtue of having to compete with all of the life in the tank.
How do you maintain it?
So maintenance really only requires raking it maybe once or twice a month, raking the pile.
Raking it and not turning it?
No, you don't have to turn it, just rake it. You want to keep the
surface.
Yeah, you want to keep the surface on the surface and the older stuff on the bottom, so you don't need to mix it.
So you're leveling more than...
It's more for leveling, so it doesn't, pile up. And you want to keep a bucket of, sawdust or wood shavings spot nearby. But that's
right there?
What's that?
Do you know what they're using in this system?
They're using peat moss.
Peat moss.
Yeah. But in Haiti you could use bagasse as well, or wood chips or anything like that.
Does anything?
Yeah.
Does anything gas off of the PVC pipe that could be collected, like methane?
No, this is not an anaerobic system. This is a purely aerobic composting system. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it would be feasible to, just fill it up with water and, and let it go anaerobic and just you'd have a pipe, let the gas come up the top. I don't know. That's possible. Usually, I think you want a larger container though for that, because if you're dealing with water, you probably want like a nice.
When can they use this contents? I mean, I'm assuming it takes a very long time to fill. What would like?
When would you use? Well, for the solids, I mean, if you wanted to use the solids, like let's say you wanted to, take out material to add to your garden, I would let it decompose for about a year, and then you could take it out after a year, and then you might want to let it decompose a little bit more, like put it in a separate compost pile and let it just for another month or so, and then just let it mature so any residue gets treated. Yeah. But the liquid is ready to use within a week after it gets
straight or 10 to 1 with water dilution?
Yeah, 10 to 1 is fine. You don't want to do it straight unless you're doing something like trees. Trees could maybe handle it.
Well, that's what we're talking about for Haiti using it stronger, but for class of 10 to 1. Is that about right?
Yeah.
What's the infectious disease? How are you able to keep track of how many microbials there are? How are you able to monitor how much the actual infection load goes down in the system?
Well, you would do that, with any standard test, I suppose. We don't have any toilets that are any kind of hazardous area right now. I mean, this toilet we're not monitoring. This is just a privately owned toilet. But all the samples and all the studies that my parents have done with their companies have always yielded very good results.
Which
The
companies?
liquid with Lindstrom was the company that my grandfather started, and then it was brought to the U.S. by my mom and my dad together. But mainly, I mean, the main issues is the liquid, and the liquid is been shown to be completely sterile over and over again. By the time it comes out, it's just like, yeah. So and for the solids, you just contain them in the tank. So you know, it's not quite.
This is how many gallons here? 25?
This is 50 gallons bucket.
Do you know how many
barrel.
person days it would take to fill that up? Is there evaporation?
There's some, not, I mean, it's covered up, so it's, there's not a lot.